Hi, thanks for coming. I'm Hunter Kennedy, and I'm here today to introduce you to the Circles of Life Foundation. The Circles of Life Foundation is all based upon a premise that with a teachable model, people can actually enhance quality of life, understanding through awareness. We each navigate the way we go through life, and each one of us makes thousands of decisions every day, experiences upset, experiences upheaval, experiences the good, the bad. It's all designed as part of the school of life. What I'm here to do today is to introduce you to the Circles of Life, which is a model that will help people understand the interactions and the inner workings of their own self with life. The goal of which is to enhance self-knowledge. Biblically, to know thyself is the goal of the model. It's designed to help you analyze and take an introspective look at your own life, at your own thoughts, at your own perceptions, and how your life is moving, so you can actually become a captain of your own ship, if you will, and lead yourself to a destiny and to the places that you want to accomplish. All of this is done basically through expanding awareness. Consciousness is what it's all about. So basically, for an introduction to the model today, I'm going to give you basic symbols that I think will help you see the model, understand it better. And then I encourage you to visit the Circles of Life website, www.colfoundation.com. And there you will find various writings and information describing what I'm talking about and the actual components that make this model work. In addition to that, you'll have video reference on the media links page, which will actually provide videos such as this one, which I will use to instructionally enhance the writing and information. There will also be writings posted, various chapters or segments on the different topics, just all to help move the process of awareness as we go. So with that said, let's get started with the model. If we consider the Circles of Life model as a whole, what we're looking at is the larger outside circle as being representative of the self. The entire self of each one of us as individuals all share these exact components. And within this circle are three other interconnecting circles, which, as you will see, make a good model for how each one of us operate. The three components of self that I'm focused on are body, mind, and spirit. And basically, as you think about each one of these components, there is a physical body that each one of us walks through life to experience all that we experience as both perceivers, as observers, and as instruments of cause and effect. Our job within the realm of the body is to experience all things. Within the mind is actually the glue or the intercessor that connects the inner essence of our spirit, our spiritual identity, our soul, the inner thinker, the one who lives inside of us, the one who is breathed into us through the nostrils as spirit or soul, as in Genesis. So from this, the spirit is in part connected to the mind, leading us, guiding us, and the overlapping areas in between the mind and spirit, overlapping areas between mind and body. Each one of these elements, spiritually, we can talk about emotions such as depression, joy, elation, happiness. Mind, we talk about thoughts, we talk about beliefs, we talk about our perceptions, the way that we see things, the way we think about things, the way we interpret things. And body, the things we feel, our feelings, our pain, our highs, our lows, our agony, our suffering, all of which are felt and experienced through body. So as we look at each one of these, any of these elements can become out of balance. An injured person is out of balance in body, but as we'll see, if you're injured long enough, you can become spiritually depressed, and you can become mentally filled with anguish and thoughts of, my life will never be the same again. In like fashion, we find that people who are, their thoughts are filled with negativity, with anxiety, with fear, with suffering, with gloom and doom, that tends to be reflected in the body through sickness, through illness, through disease, through aches and pains. Spiritually, if we are depressed, if we are riddled with anxiety, we know that it causes high blood pressure, it causes various problems within the body. We also know that our mind is always worried about what if and this and that type of thinking. So from that standpoint, we see the interplay between the three and how they all impact and interact within our lives on a daily basis. So what I'm going to go on to explain in later video segments is how we adjust each one of these elements and how we can actually use the other elements to adjust an area where we're out of balance. The goal of which is all to get the three elements in balance, where we experience this perfection, this center point, which we're going to call balance, we're going to call harmony, we're going to call peace. It is basically what I refer to as the G spot, which is a cute little acronym for the God spot within all of us. Our divine identity, where we're living in balance, where we're living in harmony, peace, love, acceptance, and our life in that point is much more sustainably pleasing and happy and joyous, and we just operate on a much better level of functioning where life is better. So, more importantly, the construction of the body, mind, and soul model of the circles of life is based on three very simple components that each and every one of us face on a daily and regular basis. Every one of our conditions are a result of choice. The choices that we make every single day in every aspect of life throughout our entire lives. The choices that we make lead us to the experiences that we have. Things that we experience, cause and effect, if you like. Every choice has an outcome or an experience that it brings to us. Some good, some bad, and all of which is an interactive play between the area of choice and experience. Perception is the key ingredient that I'm really focusing on as we learn this model. Changing our perception, putting on a new perception, is actually what changes all of life and all of your experiences. Perception equates to belief, it equates to how you see things, how you interpret things, what you make things mean. The what you make something mean, whether it be an event or what a person says or does, is going to dictate how you feel about it, which is going to then in turn influence how you choose. That choice that you make in that moment or around each one of the situations of life is what's going to bring you the experience and how you get the result from that event. So what we're going to learn is that experience shapes and changes, chisels, if you will, perception. Perception is the blueprint of consciousness, which we each make choice from. The choices then start the chain of event of the experiences that we receive. So as you can see, we can work in each one of these in the same way. Some people make bad choices that continuously bring them what they claim they don't want to experience, and they keep asking, why am I with the same person? Why do I keep getting in the same relationship? Why do I keep having this event happen in my life? Why is this repeating over and over, this pattern of life? All because we're not changing the blueprint of perception, the belief, the underlying understanding. The awareness of our perceptions allows us the ability to shift, to shape, to change, to introspectively, without judgment, just by understanding as we grow in awareness, we start seeing what our perception or the underlying root blueprint is. And like a computer programmer, we can actually go in and change our perceptions, which then alters the mind's experiences by allowing us to see new and better choices that can be made in each scenario and in each situation. If you want to change your experience, you merely have to change the choices that you make. And for some of us, this is really hard because we're not actually changing the underlying belief or perception that's driving, and sometimes unconsciously, subconsciously, the choices that we make. This is the basic model, and we'll get deeper into this as we go. But again, a person who is experiencing harmony between what they perceive and believe and want in their life makes the choices accordingly that bring them what they want, that facilitate the happiness, the joy, whatever it is they're looking for, and then provides the experience of what it is they want. When choice, experience, and perception are in balance, operating in this harmony, your life will be exactly as you want it to be, pleasing, sustaining, happy. Don't get me wrong, there's upset. There are problems that arise every single day that can interrupt our flow. But that too can be changed in awareness, and I'll show you that in just a second. So basically, as we look at this, I just want us to understand the perceptions are associated with the mind. The experience is associated with the body. The choices that we make are associated with our spirit or our soul, our inner essence. We only need to learn how to balance these components and operate them so they serve us instead of becoming prisons. I very much believe that this little model here is exemplary of what Jesus taught when he said to release ourselves from bondage, from suffering. I believe it's what the Buddha taught when he was teaching us that we needed to overcome all of these obstacles, to overcome our own suffering, and to find this place of balance. I've used this model now for several years in mental health and therapeutic practices, and I found it applicable to almost everything that I've worked in. So, again, I'll explain this in further detail in a moment. So the next model that I want to basically explain and have an understanding with is that little point that we talked about in the center of the three circles, which is really a trinity or a tricheta, where we find the interplay and balance. If we consider that the circle, all the circles of life, every single thing in our life happens on the form of a circle. If you can imagine anything you like here, let's just use something like an emotion like love. If love is here, then hate would be here. With a dividing line down the center point of this. Every single item, no matter what we put on each side of the circle, has a line where it is neutral, or it is ambivalent, or it is kind of an ebb and flow of life that teeter-totters slightly, but in general, it's a place of balance. Each issue, whether we're talking about physical, whether we're talking about mental, emotional, spiritual, every single thing in life has its opposite, has its dichotomy, fits on this circle. So no matter what we're analyzing, if we view it like this, and we're at one extreme, and we want to get to the other, we have to travel around the circle of life. And it doesn't matter which direction you go, whether you go through hate, where you have so much hate that you finally get tired of hating, or whether you end up using love to replace hate or to fight hate, you can end up coming back to a place of balance, and ultimately even ending up exactly where you want to end. And realize that there are varying degrees of every single thing we discuss, everything we talk about, as it moves closer to balance in one direction or another. Assuming there's a line here, one can be positive, one can be negative, and as we add or subtract either one, we move closer into balance. So consider this. Anything that you have in your life that you want to change or that is a problem, you have to understand its opposite, because its opposite is what will help you get around the circle and close the circle, if you will, or to make the issue dissolve. Now, one more quick model before we end the introductory process of this, just to help understanding as you do the readings and as you go on through the video, and you understand when I say circular issues and when I talk about the circles of life and all this. Plato said that the circle was the soul, and the soul in the circle that we each analyze throughout life is us, the self. And it is through self-actualization, self-analyzing, through self-awareness and self-consciousness that we actually grow in awareness and we ascend, or in this case, we move inward, the inward journey toward the highest self, the center point, Jesus' inner kingdom, whatever you'd like to experience it or call it for yourself. So this model is based on a simple three-circular method, which if you looked at the Bible, you would see it as the outer court, the inner court, and the holiest of holies. In essence, this whole model and this entire teaching is about conscious awareness. As we become more aware, we become more conscious, and we become better artisans in our own lives. We understand cause and effect. We understand choice and experience. We understand emotions and their reasons and why we have them and how they actually can benefit us, even if they're negative. They teach us, they shaped us, they sculpt us, they help change our perception so we grow, learn, and evolve, ultimately moving the outer circle where everything happens to us, where everything is a consequence, it's an accident, it just happens to us. It can be anything from what we see, to what we feel, to what we experience, to everything in the outside world is going on around us where we think we have no control. We may be actors or we may be observers within this great big scheme of the universal everything. Now, as we have experience and as we grow in wisdom and age, we end up getting into this inner kingdom where we have what we would consider to be the inner kingdom of the mental experiences, the mind, thinking. We begin to notice these events on the outside and we begin to rationalize them. We begin to understand the interplay between two things. If I do this, then this typically happens. I don't want this to happen, therefore I'm going to do this instead. Everything that we experience between the circles of life, this inner and outer realm experiences a bouncing back effect in each one of our lives that continuously goes in and out. We see something, we think something about it, we develop a story, a thought, we develop a perception, if you will, and that goes on to guide what we then choose. We then choose, we have more experiences, something happens out here, and we see how that works or how that fits on our mind, in our world, to us. And we go on and on and on. Sometimes things happen that are not in our choice, that are just what we would consider to be accidents. These accidents then get interpreted in a certain way. Again, we make up a story, anything from I'm unlucky to poor me to why am I being punished to I'm the luckiest person on the planet. All of these experiences on and off and on and off, inner working, webbing itself between the outer world and our inner world of mind. So again, just for examples, this is where we have the body and the outer experiences. This is where we have the mind and all of our mental, our internal, our thought. And then as we progress along this mental area, if we have enough experience, we come to a place where we start to understand that we have an element of control with outer experiences, with the things that happen in our world. If you want a certain job, you prepare, you go to class, you do what you need to do, you apply, you learn, you teach, and you create the experience you want through your own mental programming and processes, walking through a stairway of processes, what have you. On the same flow, what we come to as we grow and grow and grow is we realize that we have control, therefore we begin to seek control. Each and every human being on this planet, short of an enlightened master, battles with this designed intervention between mind and body, between the inner and the outer, between our experiences and our thoughts, and we battle for control. We're looking to control our pain, we're looking to control our finances, we look to control jobs, to people, to relationships, to others, all in the hopes of trying to find what we have determined for ourselves is happiness. And mind you, happiness can be many different things to many different people. It comes in all shapes and forms and sizes because we each determine what happiness is for us. Therefore, the point of that, I want you to understand that it is this inner circle of self, the thing that makes us drive, the inner voice, the voice that is the one that talks to the mind and tells it what to think or tells it how to think. The voice that sits there and says, well, should I do this or should I do this? Well, I don't know. Let's think about that. This is the innermost thinker, the thinker behind the thoughts. This is the place that is the place where if we can get to and reach it, which everybody does at points or another, the problem comes in because people have trouble staying here in this place because of the mental and because of the outer. It's almost as if it's a giant rotational sphere with spheres rotating within spheres, circles and circles, turning. And what happens is, as life turns, the mind turns, it pulls our consciousness to the mental circle. And as things and events start happening out here, it pulls our attention or our thoughts to the things, the circumstances, the bad things, things that need our attention. We're drawn out. So we're naturally drawn outward to the outer circle, to the outer kingdom, to the outer world. We fight to stay on the inner kingdom, or most of us battle with the inner kingdom because our thoughts are actually what drive our emotions and actually drive our choices and our actions that all end up causing us to experience all that we do in life. The goal, therefore, of the entire Circles of Life program is for you to become aware of the outer court, for you to become aware of the inner court, and then for you to become aware and in contact with the holiest of holies, or the innermost part of yourself, which is the true self. Know thyself. Your real self lies here. Jesus called this the inner kingdom, and it was reachable and attainable by each and every one of us. But it all occurs in consciousness, your thoughts, being able to identify with that innermost self. Some of our conflict is situational and circumstantial. Some of our conflict are imbalanced thoughts, or perhaps an imbalanced ego, when we get into a place where we are worried about how we look or how others perceive us. This conflict ends up creating fear. Fear lives out here. Fear is derived in our daily basis. What we think about something, we worry about what if this, what if that. We worry about how we look. We worry about how others judge us. We worry about how we're perceived. We worry about losing something we have in love. We worry about everything that we're attached to, which is why many spiritual traditions teach detachment. They say detach, let go. Hence the old adage, if you love something, set it free. The whole point being is that it releases your attachment, which releases your fear and gives you a more free, it's bondage. It gives you freedom from suffering if you can release these issues. At the highest pinnacle of self, at the innermost self, peace, tranquility, Buddha called it nirvana. The basic concept is that the innermost essence of who you are spirit, and you are love. Pure, unconditional love. Free from the constraints of ego, free from the constraints of the negative mind, free from constraints of the outer world and the pressures that are put on us by society or by necessity and by job and by all the other things in life that cause us grief and heartache and suffering. Because ultimately what we realize in the Circles of Life, there are no accidents, there are no coincidences. Everything that happens for a reason. It happens to teach us. It happens to change our path onto a path that would be better for us. It is the unconscious work of a soul in action that has a mission and has a purpose and has a job. It just waits for the mind to align with it and to get on the same page so the two can become one. Ultimately, the three become one as we end up moving through a place of mind and spirit and connecting those. Then we find we're able to manifest, to create, to cause the experiences that we want to happen in the outer world, to be who we want to be, and being able to be so freely without fear, without ego, without any kind of anger or resentment, negative feelings or emotions, filled with love, unconditional love, is the place that masters teach that we should reach. They teach this place as being a place where you're free from suffering, where you are filled with love. John said, perfect love casts out all fear, because there is no room for fear if you're operating from the highest level of consciousness, which is love. So essentially, this is the basic model of the circles of life. There are several teachings and several ways. I've spent years trying to understand this, how to teach this to people. The problem is that each and every one of us is a different place. We're at a different level of awareness. We have different goals, different understandings, different beliefs, different perceptions. Basically, what this model does is it allows each one of us to enter in wherever we are and begin to analyze our own thoughts and perceptions, begin to look at our own circular issues, and begin to dissect what we need to do to eliminate those from being such powerful negative forces in our lives. Ultimately, as we grow in awareness, we have understanding that frees us from some of the daily suffering and some of the problems that we normally experience. All of that then makes us know who we are and brings us closer to the divine or to the internal self that each and every one of us would seek if we knew it existed. For some people, they're already at the higher levels, or they've already attained some of this knowledge and understanding. There are many people in the New Age metaphysics that discuss these things, talking about the law of attraction, talking about the various ways in which we are to be and how to get there, all of which are the same. It's about increasing conscious awareness. It's about knowing who you are, and it's about climbing the internal ladder. This is Jacob's ladder and the stairway to heaven. This is Jesus' inner kingdom. This is the nirvana as spoken of by Buddha. It is the place attainable where we find heaven on earth, merely by going within ourselves and expanding our own conscious awareness to the point where we cast out all fear, releasing ourselves from the burdens and bondage of suffering. So, with that said, please feel free to peruse the Circles of Life website as often as you like. Please feel free to email me, to contact me with questions. I'm happy to help and assist. I will be offering webinars and additional writings, which I hope to stimulate conversation and more interest. So, if you want to play, if you have experience, if you have teachings that you want to help offer, I welcome and entertain all partnerships in this venture, because my belief is that if we each change our own perception, finding the higher self within our own individuality and our own consciousness, the world has no choice but to change and to grow for the better. If everybody on this planet were to achieve this particular place in consciousness, would it not be the kingdom here on earth? So, with that said, that is the mission and purpose of the Circles of Life Foundation. Thank you for coming. Enjoy the material. Have a great day.